the children of the rainbow flag. We are cool, choose a running proud. No one's gonna stop us, we are here to stay. We are the cool, choose of the rainbow flag. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. We keep fighting, fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop. We keep fighting, fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop. LGBTI, we are freedom fighters, fighting for the rise of the children of the rainbow flag. What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Yeah, tell me what we're fighting for. Fighting for our rights to be LGBTI. We are here to stay. Oh, LGBTI. Oh, LGBTI. Going anywhere. Children of the rainbow flag. Yes, the children of the rainbow flag. Yeah, children of the rainbow flag. Children of the rainbow flag.
Yes, friends, welcome to this very important live show on the Victor Mukasa Show. Today, a special show that where we'll be debunking the misinformation and all the UNHCR's statements that it has issued regarding the situation of LGBTQ plus people at Block 13. I request each one of you to share this live show with somebody that you know that cares about this situation, or somebody that cares about humanity or human rights that you know. Just one person, and we will begin in just a minute.
We are the children of the rainbow flag. We are cool, choose around and proud. No one's gonna stop us, we are here to stay. We are the children of the rainbow flag. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. Oh, we keep on fighting, 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 fighting. We keep on fighting, fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop. Oh, yeah,
Yes, welcome back, everybody. I hope that you can hear me clearly. Friends, if you hear me properly, let somebody just give me a thumbs up. And today is a special day for this campaign. As you are aware, while LGBTQ refugees at Block 13 are under attack, while advocates across the world are crying out to the UNHCR to evacuate them to safety. At that same time, we are having statements from the UNHCR that are actually dismissive of what is happening at Block 13, of what the UNHCR is doing for members, for the protection of members at Block 13. You know that there was, most of us joined this campaign on June 19th when there was a major attack, brutal mass attack on LGBTQ individuals at Block 13, where we had more than 30 casualties suffering very, very severe injuries from the attack. And we've just got silence, inaction, or basically nothing from the UNHCR. And when the UNHCR has acted, it has been a statement filled with misinformation, downplaying the plight of LGBT refugees at Block 13. And today, the refugees are here. Block 13 are together today to debunk all the misinformation, all the lies, all the downplaying of their situation. And perhaps today from me, I have a special message to Dr. Filippo Grandi, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Dr. Filippo Grandi in Geneva. This is for you, sir. You know that the UNHCR has continuously spread misinformation about the LGBT group on Block 13 in Kakuma Refugee Camp, a camp that you run. It has spread misinformation about what the UNHCR, your institution, Dr. Filippo Grandi, what it is doing at Block 13. There has been misinformation about that. Now, Dr. Grandi, the situation at Block 13 is real. LGBTQ group there has been attacked by homophobic and transphobic refugees several times. It has been attacked by homophobic and transphobic Kenyan nationals, specifically from the Turkana tribe in the Kakuma area. LGBTQ refugees in Kakuma have been discriminated against by medical staff at Clinic 7 and other medical facilities in Kakuma. Gay men have been forced by the police to have anal intercourse with each other. Very, very abusive. Lesbians and other women have been sexually assaulted and or raped. Now, this has happened to gay men too. They have also been raped at Block 13. At Block 13, we have had and other places where LGBTQ people are living in Kakuma. Their houses have been set ablaze by homophobic refugees in that very camp, sir, Mr. Grandi. Now, the UNHCR, in response, has issued several statements. About 6 statements since April. We had a statement. We've had statements in April, June, and July, and August, all downplaying what is happening to the refugees. But the attacks have been many. In fact, I cannot name all of them, Mr. Grandi. We had a brutal attack on June 19th, which I mentioned earlier, where more than 30 people were left ailing with either cracked skulls, broken limbs. You know, they had stabbings everywhere. We have had some of them undergo surgery because of those attacks, because of the injuries that they sustained. We've had so many attacks of LGBT refugees from Block 13 on their way to charge their phones in the nearby towns, by attacks by other refugees in the camp. There has been attacks from the Turkana people there has been sexual assault on June 19th. There was sexual assault of 3 lesbians and a minor. 4 women were sexually assaulted by refugees in that camp. Those who did it still loiter the camp. The victims of these attacks still see their attackers during the day, loitering Kakuma camp. Now, both UNHCR and the Kakuma police are aware of all these cases. There is proof that they have been reported. But the silence and inaction of the UNHCR is very deafening. It's heartbreaking. Instead, the only action that has taken place are those statements. It is bewildering and infuriating to watch your institution, Mr. Grandi, UNHCR, present violent attacks on LGBTQ people as if it is some kind of two-sided conflict between warring tribes. You know, it is presented as if it is some kind of tension between warring tribes. This is homophobia we are talking about. Homophobic and transphobic attackers come to where the refugees live. They come to Block 13 while they are sleeping, while they are going about their daily, chores, and they are violently attacked there, massively. Now, there's no two-sided conflict here. It is an attack of violent people coming to where these peaceful, innocent individuals are living, and they attack them. There are clear victims, totaling about 189, who are suffering these attacks at Block 13. And the only solution to this, because Kakuma camp is homophobic, is evacuation. Dr. Grandi, I have a question for you. When do you get to make a decision? When do you get to say, this is enough? I have seen it. When do you get to take a stand and save lives before the end of your term, if your officials will not? Because Dr. Grandi, at the end of the year, you are stepping down. When will you take that stand on behalf of humanity in Kakuma camp? The Kakuma office, Dr. Grandi, if it is the one that is reporting to you, it is giving you misinformation. If it is the one reporting to the Kenyan office or to the Geneva office, it is lying to you. Today, we have proof of what is happening. It is on you, Dr. Grandi. We cannot lose other people because inside them, they are already dead. We've already lost a child, Patricia, COVID, Geneva, Namubiru. We lost her on the 16th of September this year. She was tear-gassed with the permission of UNHCR at the UNHCR offices at the end of April this year. She was 3 days old, a 3-day-old infant. She was among those that were tear-gassed at the UNHCR office, while the UNHCR officers watched what was happening and let it happen. She did not receive treatment. She has been ailing with chest problems, breathing problems, skin problems, without the UNHCR doing anything. We lost her not so long ago, on September 16th. Dr. Grandi, she was not the only one that was tear-gassed. But tear gas was used on non-violent, underprivileged, weak, hungry refugees when they came to the UNHCR offices in Kakuma to request, to beg for protection from their violent attackers who are also refugees that are under your care, Dr. Grandi. This is on you. It is on you, Dr. Grandi. This is on you until you act, Dr. Grandi. Your staff have failed. We need you to step in and save lives of these 189 LGBTQ refugees. These include their allies. It is as simple as a movement pass, some temporary IDs, and the forwarding of their cases for expedited resettlement. We know that you have the power to step in and to be remembered as the High Commissioner who did not leave this work undone. And we believe that you can do this, Dr. Grandi. We have gone through the offices in Kakuma. We have gone through UNHCR in Kenya. There has been silence. We have received from other offices. There has been silence. The response we get from some of the UNHCR offices across the world, like the office in London, is filled with misinformation about the group at Block 13. Now, right now, Block 13, I know you're there. Please send your request and come online and let us together debunk the misinformation in the statements that Block 13 has given. Because this is what is leading to your death. It is what is leading to the silence of those who could defend you. The UNHCR has issued statements that prohibit others from taking this as a crisis, as the crisis that it is. And this is on the UNHCR. All the lives we have lost and that we are yet to lose. Waiting for you, Block 13. Thank you and welcome. Welcome, Gilbert. Welcome here, Block 13.
Hello, Victor.
Yes,
How are you?
I am surviving, but how are you?
Well, abandoned, scared, and worried most of the time. Thank you for asking.
Well, today we are debunking the misinformation in the UNHCR statements, the several statements that UNHCR has issued, downplaying the plight of LGBT refugees, downplaying your plight there at Block 13 in Kakuma camp. And a lot of people watch us today. A lot of people listen today. And this is your opportunity to debunk that misinformation and all those lies that have been told about the suffering that you are going through. Over to you, Gilbert, in Block 13.
Thank you, Victor, very much. I think it has been going on for so long. Now, what we have seen in the press, you know, the statements on Facebook, the statements on their websites, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, the bulk of the misinformation has been sent to institutions. It has been sent to individuals. It has been sent to organizations claiming things that we have never heard of, claiming glory for action not taken. Now, of course, at some point, this was coming. You know, you cannot keep claiming. That's how con artists are arrested. At some point, you lose it because it's not real. You're not what you're claiming to be. And this is what is happening with the kind of information that UNHCR has been putting out. But before we get into the depth and the nitty-gritty of the statement, I'd like to invite one of the other spokespersons that we have here on Block 13, Nalgwa Anne-Marie Josephine, to introduce this document that we have titled Response to UNHCR's Dissemination Group in Kakuma Block 13. After Narugwa, then I'll be back to give an in-depth answer to the misinformation that UNHCR has been disseminating.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you so much. Yes, it's good to see you.
Yeah. I greet everyone. And my name is Nalugwa Josephine Anne-Marie. I come to you today as a member of the leadership team of LGBTQ plus group in Kakuma Refugee Camp, Block 13. From April this year, you were troubling falsehoods, gross misrepresentation of facts, and complete disregard for truth, which can be rightly interpreted as a deviation from their mandate to protect the vulnerable LGBTQ plus individuals and families in Block 13 of Kakuma Refugee Camp. We believe that we are being violently attacked at increasingly alarming levels, that homophobic and transphobic attackers continue to their attempt to burn us alive while we are sleeping, that we continue to sustain violent injuries, and that we are sexually assaulted. UNHCR in a massive to save face as they delay the inevitable need for evacuation. UNHCR has failed to view the situation as a matter of life and death for the LGBTQ plus people and their families on Block 13, and has instead viewed it as a public relations challenge, thereby focusing on issuing numerous statements instead of evacuating us to safety. UNHCR has chosen to sidestep formal and key engagement with the leadership of the at-risk LGBTQ plus persons at Block 13, and has made it abundantly clear that they are not willing to protect the at-risk LGBTQI plus group at Block 13. Rather, they have chosen to issue false statements which are very embarrassing for an institution whose utmost duty is to protect. This unethical and shocking approach by UNHCR continues to put the lives of LGBTQ plus refugees on Block 13 in grave danger. Given their indifference of the suffering of vulnerable LGBTQ plus people, one cannot help but wonder if they are worthy of your funding for this purpose. For your clarity, below is our response to some of the recent miscommunication and deliberate false statements issued by UNHCR. Our evacuation is needed immediately to prevent loss of life from violent attacks. I speak to you as one of the serve life, but are instead being served up for death. We have no way to flee homophobic and transphobic attacks on our lives. We earnestly ask that you take my life accomplished in a mere day. Each day that goes by when we are still trapped here risks further permanent damage and irretrievable. Accomplish this simple logistical task, life and death for the LGBTQ plus individuals in its care. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for that introduction. Uh, Gilbert, the internet is still playing us, and I think that the more movement, the more disruptions. I hope that this works for us.
All right. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. As you had the foregoing introduction from Anne-Marie, UNHCR has focused on this as a public relations problem. That's why they are issuing statements every now and then. We are talking about life and death, something for which you do not issue statements, but for which you take decisive action. Now, this action is long overdue, and we have a very sad and painful reminder of that. We would like to dedicate this document to our fallen little angel. This document and entire struggle for survival here on Block 13 is dedicated to Namubiru Patricia Geneva, Queen of the Jungle, who lost her life at 4 months old after being tear gassed on the UNHCR compound at 3 days old. We would like to dedicate this to her. Most people live their entire life without suffering half of the things that Namubiru suffered in Kakuma in the less than 5 months that she existed on this earth. We terribly miss you, Patricia, our little daughter, our sister, and Queen of the Jungle. Dear Namubiru, Geneva Patricia, you will always be remembered as one who could have been saved. Yeah. After dedicating the document to our departed angel, would like now to get into the depth of responding to the misinformation and frankly, disinformation by UNHCR regarding what is happening here on Block 13. Since April this year, communications by UNHCR have contained deeply troubling falsehoods, gross misrepresentations of fact, complete disregard for the truth, and negligent and malicious deviation from their mandate to protect a vulnerable group of LGBTQ refugees, plus and their individuals here in Block 13 in Kakuma Refugee Camp. UNHCR has released a number of public statements with false information that, to date, will primarily focus on this recent communication by UNHCR to a certain human rights organization in the UK. In this document that they wrote to this human rights organization in the UK, they repeated most of the things they had issued. Been very busy with their statements. So we believe that an answer to this document is an answer to most of their statements. It is abundantly clear plus group is immediately needed for our safety And UNHCR's current handling of the matter is not only embarrassing to the institution itself, but also puts us in very, very grave danger. UNHCR has chosen to sidestep formal, needed, and adequate engagement with the leadership of the LGBTQ plus group on Block 13. And their answer has been to issue statements. Regarding the statement that they issued to this human rights organization in the UK, UNHCR made these erroneous statements. We begin from the statements where they say, which we have numbered as paragraph 1 for the purposes of this document. Of their document, they say, and I quote, regarding the situation in Kakuma, UNHCR acknowledges the huge challenges that vulnerable refugees and asylum seekers face, including those who self-identify as being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or intersex, LGBTI. UNHCR staff closely follows the security situation there and continue to work with refugees, partner organizations, state authorities to protect this at-risk population and finding lasting solutions for these individuals. That is their statement. If you've been following what I've read, UNHCR says that they acknowledge the huge challenges that we face. And they claim that we are a group that is at risk in the country of asylum. And yet, it has done nothing to protect us, despite admitting huge challenges. UNHCR does not highlight what kind of challenges that we, the LGBTQ plus persons in Kakuma, face. It would have been important for them to highlight that this is what they faced, but they choose not to highlight it in their statement. Rather, it chooses to say they choose to say that we are self-identifying. This is a direct attack on our credibility as a group. And in a way, UNHCR is suggesting that it has a mechanism of telling who is LGBTQ and who is not. In paragraph 2 of the same statement, UNHCR continues, and I quote, all the testimony the camp management and the authorities. After initial investigations and discussions with community representatives and partners, we can update you with the following observations. End of quote. UNHCR claims here to have consulted a number of parties. Well, they highlight the camp management, their main partners. They claim they have consulted authorities, and they talk of community representatives plus partners. Now, Victor, all these people are directly under the influence of UNHCR. These are people that are directly either answerable to them or their main partner, the Refugee Affairs Secretariat, the one that we call RAS here. So none of these people can actually give an objective view of what is happening. They will only state what UNHCR wants them to state. UNHCR would have been able to put out a balanced statement if they had indicated that also consulted us, the victims, something that they deliberately avoided to do. Next paragraph. Paragraph 3, I quote UNHCR. A small group of some 20 refugees and asylum seekers who dwell in an area of the camp known as Block 13 has reported numerous incidents of violence against them. They have asked to be urgently resettled to other countries. This group has insisted on living together in Block 13, despite their availability and offer of safer alternatives. The overwhelming majority of others in the camp with an LGBT profile have opted to live dispersed across the Kakuma camps in small numbers in shelters, limited to partners, families, or friends. Our response. As far back as April of this year, we submitted a written petition signed by 168 LGBTQ plus refugees to Geneva and copied UNHCR Nairobi plus the camp management, asking for a safe place. This petition belies UNHCR's claim that the majority of the LGBTQ plus persons are living in safety. From the 27th to the 30th of April 2020, we were at the UNHCR compound in Kakuma, and we still asked for the safe place. This was done in front of their CCTV cameras, something UNHCR headquarters can easily verify. We were dumped on Block 13 by UNHCR at gunpoint in the presence of the UNHCR Community Protection Officer. We did not have any choice. And as far as we are concerned, we have only asked for a safe place. It is only UNHCR that has always mentioned resettlement, obviously to divert attention. Ever since we arrived on Block 13, others have joined us. And our number has grown, and now it stands at 189, including the allies. But UNHCR carries on the misinformation that we are 20, even if that is easy to see that we are more than 20 from the pictures and the live shows that we have been having. Still going on with the response. In the Kakuma Refugee Camp, attacks on LGBTQ plus refugees begin right from the reception center. But it is in the main community, camp community, where we LGBTQ plus refugees are most exposed. Following the COVID-19 lockdown, we experienced increased attacks. These included sexual and physical assault, rape, arbitrary arrests, setting our shelters on fire, among many other things. Assurances of protection from UNHCR and its partners never materialized into anything substantive or practical. Hence, the need for that we need a safe place petition, which was signed by 168 LGBTQ refugees. From the time it was submitted to UNHCR and its main partner, Refugees Affairs Secretariat, in mid-April this year, they have not done anything about our deteriorating conditions. For those of you who receive an electronic copy, you'll find attached this petition. It has picked but most importantly, it has a message that was sent to Grandi. For the purpose of this presentation, I'd like to focus on our references. Actually, I'll begin with a request in that petition that we submitted. Our request in the petition is here. We therefore call on the United Nations Commission for Refugees to live up to its mandate and assure that we have safe housing and not in danger of being attacked just because of our sexual orientation and gender identity. and that our same-sex relations are not criminalized by the state and the community around us. To put it simply, we are asking for a place where we can be safe. How can you mistake that for resettlement? We want to save life first. In the references, we added a letter that I would like to read. This is the letter that sanctioned the relocation of our brothers that preceded us in Kakuma Refugee Camp. This letter was written by one Walpaga Engbreak, Deputy Representative, and it was written to the Kenyan Protection Team, Nairobi. It was written on the 19th December 2018. I would like to read it. Or the reference. Plans to relocate the remaining LGBTI group to Nairobi. We are writing to you with regard to the current challenges relating to the insecurity of LGBTQ persons of concern in Kakuma. In response to your verbal request that the remaining LGBTI members be relocated from Kakuma to Nairobi immediately, we wish to reassure you that plans are being made by senior management for immediate relocation, possibly on 20th and 21st December 2018. The interests of LGBTI community have been and continue to be prioritized to ensure legal and physical safety. We request your cooperation by moving to designated accommodation facility. We realize that by sleeping outside, the whole group, particularly women and children, are exposed to more risks. We thank you in advance for your cooperation. Yours faithfully, Walpaga Engelbrecht, Chief Deputy Representative. Double standards. Shocking. They were sleeping outside and they were relocated. We have lost life and they choose to write statements. That petition is in its redacted form, will be accessible when you get a copy of this document that will be available on different platforms. I'd like to proceed to the statement again. In the next paragraph, we quote the UNHCR statement issued on the 29th of April this year. I quote, Nairobi, 29th April 2020. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, expressed today its concern about a sit-in in front of its office in Kakuma, Kenya, organized by some 60 refugees and asylum seekers, citing security concerns and asking to be resettled to a third country. That statement issued by UNHCR on the 29th indicated that we were 60. Now, in the one they sent to the UK and the one they issued recently, they say we are 20. They have made it a habit to write anything that comes to their mind without considering how it affects us, whose situation continues to deteriorate because of these kinds of lies. I continue to quote the very statement of 29th. It adds, UNHCR and partners together, UNHCR and partners together with representatives from the National Police Service and the Refugee Affairs Secretariat have met twice with the group to understand their concerns and to try to identify and agree with them on ways to resolve this situation. Victor and everybody listening, this is the last time in April that UNHCR formally met with us to understand our security concerns. Instead, most recently, they have indicated that they ironically met with our attackers. understand our security challenges and to generate solutions for us. Something that directly goes against their guidelines. That the victims should be the first party to be consulted when coming up with interventions. You don't meet with the attackers to discuss the security concerns of the victims. It's ridiculous. I'm still quoting the very statement issued on the 29th of April by UNHCR. The quotation continues. As of this afternoon, the group has refused to return to their shelters. UNHCR urges them to take advantage of the concrete measures which have been offered to address their security concerns and of resolving the current impasse in a peaceful manner. UNHCR has made a lot of false promises as far as our safety is concerned. In April, they promised concrete security measures. Concrete security measures in April. And every time they have issued a statement, they repeat the same lie that our security has been improved, and yet we continue to get attacked. It is obvious to anyone except UNHCR that despite police's best efforts, they cannot keep us safe in Kakuma. I go back to the statement that was issued to the organization in the UK. This is our number 4 in that statement, paragraph number 4. UNHCR continues to allege, I quote, as each incident has been investigated, we have observed that many of the accounts reported, for example, on social media, are not consistent with eyewitness accounts and personal experience of other LGBTI refugees who live in the same part of the camp, as well as from partners who work inside Kakuma and have first-hand experience supporting them. We are concerned that a growing number of refugees in the camp, including some who identify as LGBTI, fear speaking out and engaging with us due to pressure from some individuals within this small group of LGBTI refugees. How can 20 refugees, so-called 20, group of 20, stop an entire 180 from talking to UNHCR? Are they suggesting that our number is growing and so the influence on others, or they are saying that they are lying about our number? UNHCR has our contact information on files. These include telephone and email in the camp, including Block 13. But it chooses to find our information on social media because they're not interested in finding us a safe place or even to admit to the existence of homophobia and transphobia in Kakuma. While they claim in this paragraph to speak to eyewitnesses, they have not done any arrests. It is obvious that they know our attackers. They claim to have spoken to several witnesses of our attacks. So it's not a question of whether the attacks are there, because they are witnesses and they claim they have met them who have seen these attacks. But instead of giving us protection, they choose to write about some details about what these people saw that is not tally. Paragraph 5 of that statement issued to the Human Rights Organization. I quote UNHCR. While we believe that these incidents do not reflect the overall security situation in Kakuma, we are concerned by rising tensions in Block 13. To help mitigate the situation, police patrols have increased in that area, and services, including medical, legal, and psychosocial assistance, have been reinforced. If the situation, end of quote, if the situation is not as we have portrayed it, then why do they have to increase all the above services? In the last 5 statements that UNHCR has published, they claim that security has been increased in and around Block 13. And yet Block 13 has been attacked both during day and during night. And not once during those attacks has police been found in or around Block 13. Paragraph 6, I quote UNHCR. Refugees in Kakuma regularly contact UNHCR and partner organizations through various means, including a countrywide toll-free 24-hour helpline and a dedicated UNHCR Kakuma Police, Kakuma Protection Channel. Whenever we are informed of a security incident against a refugee or asylum seeker, our staff immediately engage with our NGO partners in Kakuma to ensure that those in need are provided medical treatment and psychosocial support. Recently, in a similar such situations, ambulances have been sent to transport the refugee impacted to a health facility, even though movement restrictions are currently in place due to COVID-19. End of quote. Response. Regarding medical, after the attack of 11 September 2020 on Block 13 by the two anti-run clinic, refused to treat a seriously injured LGBTQ plus person just because of her assumed sexuality. It took 2 days and a phone call from UNHCR for the clinic to touch and treat this injured person. These are the kinds of service providers that UNHCR says are responding promptly. As for the psychosocial support, this does not exist in Kakuma, at least for Block 13. We have had to obtain psychosocial assistance from outside volunteers who are not related to UNHCR. Paragraph 7, I quote UNHCR. UNHCR, together with a number of partners, have specific, immediately responsive protocols in place for addressing the needs of all women, men, and children who report incidents of sexual and gender-based violence. Our response: we do not protest the existence of UNHCR's protocols. We are only shocked that they have never been implemented in our behalf. Paragraph 8, UNHCR continues to allege, and I quote, medical, psychosocial, legal, and other support is made available to all survivors who report, depending on the wishes they express in individual interviews with the trained staff. All incidences reported are systematically logged. End of quote. Our response: we have a lot of rape and other sexual assault victims that have never seen the psychosocial, legal, and medical support that UNHCR purports to provide. Paragraph 9, I quote UNHCR. In relation to a reported incident on July 19th, for instance, medical staff immediately treated all 4 affected individuals. However, the individuals declined to report the incident to police. They continue to allege on the same incident Following the incident, all 4 received mental health assistance, and our staff continue to follow their cases closely. There are several medical facilities in Kakuma. The IRC hospital is located closest to Block 13, and most often attends to the health concerns raised by this group. Now, Victor, for this particular paragraph, UNHCR touched the wrong point, because the women that were sexually assaulted on the 19th of July are among the 189 people on Block 13, not 20 people, but 189 people on Block 13. And they have recorded their statement in a video, but it has been transcribed and will be read for the audience that we have on the live show. We're going to begin with Shifra. We want the victims to tell the world if UNHCR has a clue as whatsoever happened to these women.
Thank you very much.
The women exist and they live. Shifra, please. Shifra is a minor.
Thank you, Gilbert. Yes, Shifra. Good to see you.
I'm going to read for you my statement.
You mind speaking louder, Shifra?
Okay. Hi, my name is Testia Shifra. I'm 17 years old. I live at Block 13. After the attack of the 19th July, we were rescued by our fellow LGBTQ members at Block 13. We got first aid from them. They assisted us. They gave us first aid and we rested. The following day, on the 20th of July still, we went to a private hospital. That's Kakuma Mission Hospital. We got a tetanus vaccine and we came back at Block 13. Due to the struggle we went through on the 19th, we rested for 3 days. And on the 22nd, we went to a police station to record our statements. When we reached there, because of being LGBTQ+, the officer refused to record our statements. We went back at Block 13 and we told our fellow LGBTQ+ member, and that's Gilbert. He made some calls and of July. They recorded our statements. To come to our rescue, to talk to us, to have counselors, counseling and guidance because of the situation we went through, because of the hard time we went through. But no, we could see no one, even the police. It never minded to investigate our case, to see what really happened. Apart from us going to the police station, we never got any assistance from that time, Victor. Even still now, up to now, I have never talked to any partners of theirs, either us or the SGBVs. I have never seen anyone, or the case workers or the protection officers. I have never got any help from them. The only hope I got was an individual. Well-wishers, even they are not in Kenya. I talk to them and at least I feel better. My mind relaxed, but still, I have those nightmares. That hard time, it still comes into my head. I still get those pictures of that time, even up to now. The UNHCR has never showed up. But UNHCR, please, tell the truth to the world. I don't think you even know me. I don't think you know that I exist. And you know that I'm one of the members, a minor who got attacked on that day. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, Shifra. This is disheartening. Very disheartening.
Victor, that was a minor. Now we'll have the story for Nakajiri, read by Juliet. Let her tell the story of what happened as well.
Hi, Victor.
Hi, Julia.
My name is Nakajiri Susan. I stay on 19th July. We were attacked. We received first aid from our nurses at Block 13. The next day, on 20th, we went to Kakuma. Sustained, we were not able to go to the police immediately. We went to police first on 22nd to report our case. The police officer asked us where we were from, and we told him. He said he cannot commit treason by listening to a case reported by LGBTQ+. To listen to LGBTQ+ is a treason. He chased us away. When we came back, we explained to one of us what happened, and he made some phone calls, and we were told to go back the next day. On 23rd, we went back and got OB numbers. From that day, UNHCR did nothing until 12th August 2020. On that day, the protection officer called me asking me what happened on 19th. Earlier, when I was doing an assessment, she asked me what I could do, and I had told her I could learn hairstyling. Then she told me I had called you to add that attack on your file and to remind you lessons from UNHCR. Expert counselors not related to UNHCR. I have never got any help from UNHCR. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliet, and thank you, Brenda.
This is Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda.
Now let's have Shifra, Brother Sifa, and her story will be read for her by Nalgwa.
My name is Kaitesi Sifa, one of the LGBTQ plus members at Block 13. On the 19th of July 2020, we were attacked and we were not helped by the people around, but we were helped by our fellow LGBTQ plus members. We were brought home. Today we went to a private hospital, that is Kakuma Mission, and we were given a tetanus injection, then came back. Because I was wounded, I was unable to move. We stayed home after 3 days. On the 22nd, we went to the police. When we reached there, they asked us why we were here. We explained to them, but they just sent us away. We reached back home and explained to our fellow LGBTQ+, and that is Gilbert, is the one who helped to take us back. We went back on the 23rd, and we were able to listen, and they
Unfortunately, person is actually very ill. Jacqueline Katshabe, who was attacked on that day, is doing very badly, and she was unable to make a presence. But it doesn't make any difference. As you heard the stories directly from the women, you can tell that just like the rest of the statements issued by UNHCR, they are deliberately issuing false information about actual incidents that happened on Block 13. The testimonies of the women that have gone through horrendous attacks clearly show that UNHCR is not ashamed to write pure falsehood, fabricated information, just in a desperate attempt to save face. These women were involved in a real attack and are among the 189 LGBTQs and allies currently on Block 13. Following a lot of erroneous statements issued by UNHCR, we have the pleasure to give you first-hand information, as you've heard it from the women that were attacked. This is one of the many cases that they have misreported, one of the many cases that they have intended, they have fabricated for the benefit of the readers. All organizations and videos that have received letters from UNHCR contain this kind of information that is designed to deceive and hide. We do believe that the story from the women is proof for anybody that had any lingering doubts as to whether UNHCR is telling the truth. It's obvious that what they wrote shows that they either have no clue or have no interest in telling the truth about the situation. This kind of mis and disinformation not only keeps the world unaware of what is happening to us, but it is a violation of they have tried to discredit even the victims by saying them, police, stigmatizing,
Gilbert.
victims, and instead they have chosen to report that they survived.
I request that I call you, that I take you off, and then you request again. The connection is really breaking the very important information that you're sharing. So I'll take you off and then invite you again. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So friends, apologies. The connection in Kakuma today is really problematic, but we will re-invite them and we will have this statement. You excuse us for that, but that's what Kakuma is. Let us see if it's going to be. Let's see how it goes.
All right, let's give it another shot, Victor.
Yes.
So UNHCR has made it a habit to issue false, unresearched information regarding the situation of LGBTQ plus persons in Block 13. Instead of offering protection, to hide the actual situation in Kakuma. The above statements you heard from the women that were involved in the attack that UNHCR cited in their statement is proof that UNHCR is not just refusing to help, but is actively protecting the attackers, is actively defending those it should be condemning. How are we supposed to view it then? We cannot tell them apart from our attackers now. We see them as those that attack us because of the stand they have taken publicly to defend those that continue to violate our rights. Paragraph 11 of the same statement. I quote UNHCR statement to the human rights organization in the UK. As you know, some LGBTI refugees have experienced severe trauma resulting from persecution, which has required psychotherapeutic intervention. In addition to individual counseling, refugees in need have access to specialized health professionals who provide psychiatric care and medication when indicated. Okay, the network is terrible. The weather is bad. Can you hear me, Victor?
Yes, can you redo the response that you have to that?
The response, okay, for paragraph 11. We can confirm that we have not met counselors from the UNHCR or its partner organizations. The only counselors we have met are volunteers living outside Kenya, not related to UNHCR. These counselors that we have met, not related to UNHCR, have issued reports regarding their interventions in our behalf. UNHCR has been given a number of reports of the medical and the psychosocial situation of the LGBTQ plus refugees on Block 13. Something that they have not even acknowledged. But at least for once, UNHCR acknowledges in this paragraph 11 that we have experienced trauma.
All right, paragraph 12.
I quote UNHCR statement. In this context, UNHCR is renewing its call for dialogue among communities to help reduce tensions. We have launched an initiative to bring together representatives from various communities living in and around Block 13 to discuss ways in which tensions can be reduced and security improved. We regret that so far, a small group of LGBTI refugees has refused to be part of this dialogue. End of quote.
All right. What's your response here?
This is the most absurd and improper protocol imaginable by UNHCR in dealing with a group of persecuted LGBTIQ refugees. Asking us to sit with rapists, violent attackers, and other kinds of dangerous criminals disguised as moralists to discuss our safety. Could anything sound more insensitive and cruel? They have presented this dialogue as the only solution our persecution from as far back as May 2020. Although every time they issue a statement, they present it as something new and wonderful. It's not clear to us whether they simply have no safe place where they can put us, or they just lack the willingness to protect us. We have been attacked by a range of people, our fellow refugees, service providers, the indigenous Turkanas who are not even supposed to be in the camp. These form part of the groups that have consistently attacked us. These are the very groups they are meeting with to discuss a solution to our problem. If these dialogues are so important and are so productive, how come these ongoing dialogues have not stopped the attacks from happening? By offering a dialogue as a solution, UNHCR is presenting itself as a sort of an arbitrator in a conflict. We do not know them as an arbitrator, but rather as a protector of the persecuted. We urge them to stop assuming roles that are confusing. Paragraph 13. UNHCR continues to allege, and I quote, "We do, however, reject allegations that members of this small group or LGBTI refugees in general are being denied services and assistance. These services, including water, food, health, and education, are available to nearly 200,000 refugees and asylum seekers residing in the camp and currently being utilized by many refugees, including LGBTQI refugees." End of quote. Our response for paragraph 13. We have been openly discriminated against by the community and partners of UNHCR while attempting to receive services like water and medical. For instance, on the 31st of March 2020, we were attacked by the community at a water fountain, and when we complained, arrested 8 of us. On the 27th of June 2020, while at Clinic 7, run by International Rescue Committee, medical officers refused to treat members of the LGBTQ group. When we implored them, the officers who had refused to treat the injured instead called police and had 6 of our members arrested. All these arbitrary arrests happened to us because we are LGBTQ+ who are trying to access very basic services. Paragraph 14. Opening quotes. Refugees of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities have access to same shelters as all refugees residing in Kakuma. Further, mechanisms are in place to report damaged shelters. Upon assessment, shelters will be repaired or fully replaced within 10 days. In urgent cases, the shelter is repaired or replaced immediately. In 2020, a total of 24 shelters have been repaired or replaced for LGBTI refugees and asylum seekers who reported their cases to UNHCR. All shelters were either repaired or replaced within 24 hours. End of quote. Our response. In this very statement, UNHCR admits that there have been attacks on LGBTQ people. They admit that we are at risk. And yet when it comes to allocating shelters, they have failed to give us safe housing, a basic requirement for persons that are being targeted and attacked and persecuted by the community and others around them. Paragraph 15, I quote UNHCR. We know that many LGBTI refugees have requested to be urgently resettled to another country. We understand the very real challenges they face and are fully aware that there are some very vulnerable refugees. End of quote. Our response to paragraph 15. All LGBTQ plus persons in Kakuma Refugee Camp are vulnerable. And this is common knowledge. What we are in real need of is a durable solution. Because obviously, what UNHCR has been listing in their statements has not worked. Paragraph 16, opening quotes. Although we are fully committed to finding solutions for all refugees in Kenya, we also face limitations, both in terms of resources and resettlement places available. We are doing everything we can in a very difficult situation, and will continue advocating with donor governments for more resources and resettlement places for refugees who need it. To maintain the integrity of our resettlement program, priority is given to those who need protection most. This includes survivors of torture or sexual and gender-based violence and unaccompanied minors who all deserve our urgent attention. LGBTI refugees have also been able to benefit from this vital program. Some 1.4 million refugees globally are in need of resettlement. Well, this year, only 57,600 resettlement places have been made available by states to UNHCR. We welcome and encourage initiatives in this area from civil society groups based outside of Kenya, including private sponsorship programs. Our response to paragraph 16. UNHCR, there is another way this can be done. To date, we have asked UNHCR to at least give us proper documentation and aid with movement passes. And then our allies and friends. This is something UNHCR has not done, and yet it could have resolved the situation. Come again?
The second, you said, and can you repeat the response, please, because it broke.
Yes. All right. Let me read the response again. UNHCR, there is another way this can be done. To date, we have asked you to at least give us proper documentation and aid with movement passes. And then our allies and friends are willing to pick it up from there. This is something UNHCR has not done, and yet it could have helped to resolve the situation a long time ago.
Thank you.
Paragraph 17, 18, and 19 combined. I quote, paragraph 17, 18, 19, I quote, the security and well-being of refugees is our priority. We are alarmed by recent examples of the spreading of false information on social media regarding the prevailing situation in Kakuma, and wish to stress that the overwhelming majority of refugees present in Kakuma, including many with an LGBTI profile, are able to live there peacefully. The situation is very complex, and misinformation from some has unfortunately increased tensions with this group, as well as hindered the ability of UNHCR and partners to best provide protection and assistance to almost 500,000 refugees and asylum seekers currently hosted in Kenya. All the information that we have provided here can be independently verified, and we strongly encourage attention. And please rest assured that we are open to review whatever we can to protect LGBTI refugees in Kakuma and beyond.
That's the response.
It's extremely sad. Yes, our response, Victor, to these three paragraphs combined is that, yes, we would like to take them on their offer of a dialogue. would like to dialogue with UNHCR, Geneva. We have been requesting for a dialogue with UNHCR Kenya, and they have thus far refused to allow us to participate in formal meeting with them. We ask to be included in decision-making matters regarding our life and safety. Would like also to dialogue with UNHCR Kenya, mediated by the actual UNHCR that issued this statement, which was London, and involving the human rights organization that was intended to receive that statement. They say that people should not believe what they have just heard without consulting. To us.
Thank you very much.
To be able to tell the truth about what is happening to us. But now that you know the truth, all of you that have been watching, all of you that will continue to watch this, now that you know the truth, it does not make us any safer yet. We call on the UNHCR to immediately take the following action to prevent loss of life. We call on them to ensure that movement passes are issued for all 189 LGBTQ plus individuals from Block 13 that live in danger, so that we can be safely evacuated from Kakuma. To ensure that identification is issued to all individuals in the LGBTQ group who have lost these identifications due to the fires, attacks that we have survived, and for any other reason, the looting, the theft that we have gone through. We request them to forward the cases of all LGBTQ plus individuals to resettling countries for expedited settlement, given that the government of Kenya is not willing to protect us from harm. We ask all human rights organizations to hold UNHCR accountable to their mandate to protect us by taking strong stance to request for our immediate evacuation. We ask all embassies, donor countries, funding organizations, and others at large to utilize your respective relationships with UNHCR to urge the UNHCR leadership in Geneva and in Kenya to protect us by urgently evacuation. We are a vulnerable group that is highly targeted. We cannot simply be kept trapped in an environment where we're being constantly, brutally, and violently attacked and sexually assaulted and are prevented from escaping. It is unconscionable. Please use your influence to ensure our immediate evacuation to safety. Another one or more of our colleagues. Victor, this brings us to the end of our statement.
Thank you so much, Gil.
And
Thank you
thank you.
to your leadership team, and thank you so much to all advocates who have been supportive in making this possible. To make this possible, thank you so much, Block 13 members of Block 13 that provide this information, that relieve this information, relieve their attacks, relieve their suffering whenever they tell these stories. You are brave people. And again, I say, we believe you, we still believe you. And we hope that with this statement, our friends out there who doubted because of the information they get from the misinformation they get from the UNHCR, that this helps you to understand this situation better. You know, even when they give us this information, correct the lies in the UNHCR statements, they remain and they need us. They are still unsafe. An attack could happen anytime. And there are questions now. If Gilbert, if you could stay around in case of questions, is how can we support this campaign from the UK? That is Bani Hakata.
Thank you, Victor. And thank you, Bani and Kata, right? The truth of the matter is that we need voices not just of individuals, but we need the collective voices of institutions, organizations, human rights organizations, institutions. We need everybody that values life, whether as an institution or an individual, to come out and urge UNHCR to do their job. Issuing statements, those are things you do if you have a public relations problems. But when you're dealing with lives that are perishing, you actually roll your sleeves and do an actual work. Now, to answer the question, yes, we need a lot of advocacy. Also, as it stands, Victor, we are struggling financially. I'd like to use this opportunity as a reply to Bani and Kata that we are calling on and help us with basic survival as we urge and push UNHCR to do their job. At some point, they will do their job, but we need to survive there. Individuals have done their best. We could use an organization that is willing to adopt us. We have a lot of LGBTQ plus organizations. One of you could have a mother-child relationship with us. It would go a long way to saving lives, because we believe that the little angel that passed on could have been saved if we had better medical conditions. At the time, we were struggling with medical bills and we could not take her to a private clinic. So we are asking for a parent-child relationship with an organization to help us survive this ordeal. Let's wait for UNHCR. So 2 ways: financial support and advocacy. Advocacy and more advocacy.
Thank you. And
Any other questions, Victor?
Bani, if you, Bani Hakata from the UK, we also have a Zoom protest tomorrow. As Anne-Marie has posted, I have pinned her post. Yes, we have a Zoom protest, world protest tomorrow, still in support of Block 13's evacuation effort, you know, and amplifying their voice. We have a wonderful team or group of panelists. We'll have Block 13 representatives. There will be other advocates like that are working on this campaign, Babs Kane, Nancy Casey, Helen Thompson. Will have therapists also testifying about what they have. We are likely to have a doctor also testifying about what they have seen, but also very important, we will have human rights defenders from Africa joining us. LGBT human rights defenders from renowned organizations like Sharon Cox from the Triangle Project. We will have Richard Lusimbo from Pan Africa ILGA, also giving us a word there. I'll be there myself, and we are still, the list is still growing of people that will join us at this protest. Please join us on Facebook page. Those who cannot come to the Zoom protest, if you want to be a part of the Zoom discussion, send me your details. So we send you the link. For those of you who join us on Facebook, I will have it playing on my Facebook profile page, but it will be cast on other Facebook profiles for the refugees themselves and other advocates across the world. But please find a spot to be a part of the Zoom protest tomorrow. The UNHCR still needs to hear from all of us. Gilbert, unless you have a last word, Gilbert, before I say bye to Block 13, and also can Block 13 can you show us the number of people you have there, if any, because UNHCR says you're just 20. Is it possible to see around? Just
Victor, of course, the last word is, the children alone are more than 20. And UNHCR says the entire group is 20. The last word, of course, I would like to thank everybody. There were a lot of individuals that helped us, but also I'd like to thank Philia in the UK. At an institutional level, they could not just share with us information. It helps us. Of course, it gave us an insight into the kind of misinformation that UNHCR has been putting out. And it helps for the world to know that it's not only them that have received wrong information about us. A lot have been receiving very wrong information about us. That Philia took is very impressive. They have remained true to their cause of defending human rights, and we applaud their efforts, and we're grateful to them. We'd like to thank you, Victor, as well, for being a medium for us, for being a platform for us to be able to talk to the world. We have furnished evidence regarding most of the situations that we have mentioned in that document, and this is irrefutable. So please, you can find that document on this Facebook page, and we'll be able to share it also on other Facebook pages. We sincerely hope that you'll continue to find it in your hearts and in your pockets, continue to sustain us as we wait for the UNHCR to do its job. If it doesn't have resources, but if it can give us the movement passes. And even the relocation is a very, very simple task, maybe probably a day. It's just a logistical task. And we believe they can do it if their hearts are in the right place. We also take the opportunity to invite everybody to be part of that Zoom meeting. We'll share the link on this Facebook page so you can join. please join and raise your voices. This Zoom meeting will be shared, I think, at some point with Geneva for them to have first-hand experience of what people think of the kind of service they have been able to put out. Thank you, Victor, so much. We are
Thank you.
indebted to you.
Thank you, Gilbert. And thank you,
Welcome.
Block 13. A special thank you to the leadership there. Thanks for being with us today.
Welcome.
All right, friends. That was Block 13 debunking the misinformation, the lies, the disinformation about their situation, their plight by the UNHCR, the very institution that should be protecting them from violence, from attacks, from homophobia and transphobia, the very institution that should be keeping them safe. Now, Dr. Grandi, that was a message to you. What you have had, your offices have had, Kakuma office has had, Nairobi office has had. We have invited them for the dialogue that they talk about. They have refused to respond to us. They have denied us, the advocates for Block 13. Block 13 itself. We have all been denied that opportunity to sit with your officers to discuss this. Now, this is a call out to you that before you leave office at the end of this year, you set LGBTQ refugees in Kakuma camp free. Your officers have failed. But Dr. Filippo Grandi, we request you to set them free before you leave office this year. Now, thank you so much to everybody. Thank you so much to all the first responders who have been there for Block 13. You have heard the horrible things they're going through. If any of you just imagined yourself to be at Block 13, you can imagine how crazy you'd be right now. This is how they feel. They feel lost. They feel hopeless. They are sick. They're ailing with emotional wounds, let alone what you see on their physical bodies. It's a lot that is happening. But you've also heard that they are discriminated against when it comes to accessing those services in Kakuma that the UNHCR purports to provide. The very officers who should be helping them condemn them for being LGBT. You just heard that a policeman said that it is treason, it is committing treason for him to listen to an LGBT case when the lesbians who were sexually assaulted on July 19th first went to the police station. A police officer said it is treason. He cannot betray his country by listening to an LGBT case. So it took some kind of pushing by the leadership of Block 13 for a statement to be taken. This is where Dr. Grandi and the whole of UNHCR is keeping these people. So I thank the therapists, the counselors who are constantly there, who are talking to LGBTQ refugees at Block 13 every day, who are sparing that minute for them. And we call upon all those who can provide counseling professionals to come and help our siblings. Some of them are our children, and some of them are our friends. Now, we also thank everybody who has donated to the GoFundMe page. So far, in total, we have raised about 11,000, close to 11,500 US dollars since June. And believe me, we have used that money. We are still short of money. We're supposed to do an accountability, but things kept happening. The Turkana attack and then the death of Patricia. And then we've been also trying to prepare these documents, but we already have that accountability and we still want to come here and present it to you. But we are short of funds. And if you can redonate. Donate again. on the GoFundMe page on my page, but also there is a Facebook link still on my page for the same purpose. And as you have heard, they are calling out to an organization that can adopt them. Just be there as a parent to fundraise for them, to receive resources for them as they await their evacuation. Because that has to happen, UNHCR. That has to happen. We need to save these lives. UNHCR, this is a crisis. So I'm calling upon you all to donate, even $5, whatever you can, just put it out there and it will be helpful. Every dollar counts, every shilling counts, every euro, pound counts. I thank all the people who are engaged in advocacy in this issue. I thank all the organizations that are on board. It's been, a long cry, but I'm so happy to let you know that we have organizations on board. Now, a lot is happening. We are receiving responses from resettling countries. In fact, there's another response I received this morning. So there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes, and there are so many people beyond me that are contributing to these efforts. And help me to thank all of them, because I will not name, because I cannot name all of them. It is a movement. It is a network of advocates across the world, a network that has been built over a period of about 2.5 months. A network that will not rest until LGBTQ refugees are saved from homophobic and transphobic Kakuma camp. Now, I'm calling upon you all to come to the Zoom protest tomorrow. If you want to attend, please send us a message. Send me a message inbox for the link. If you cannot come to the Zoom meeting, you can come to a Facebook Live where we will be casting that Zoom meeting live. And one of those pages will be this very profile. You will have the Zoom meeting. You can watch the discussions at the Zoom meeting. We will have LGBT refugees in Kakuma speaking. I will be speaking. There will be other advocates like Babsken, who is the organizer of the protests. There will be Nancy Casey from Ottawa. And there will be Richard Lusimbo from Pan-Africa ILGA. There will be Sharon Cox from Triangle Project and the Global Interfaith Network, and so many others. So please show up. We will still be sending a strong message to the UNHCR of Dr. Filippo Grandi. And our call is for the evacuation of LGBTQ refugees out of Kakuma camp, out of Block 13, where they are under constant attack from fellow refugees and homophobic refugees, and from homophobic Kenyan nationals, specifically from the Turkana tribe, and also from the police itself. And also, it is violence when UNHCR remains silent amidst violence. So I thank you all. Oh, and by the way, on tomorrow's Zoom, we will have Brian Nkoyoyo, stage name Brayo Brayo. Brayo Brayo is the performer of the song that we listen to here on these live shows, the theme song, LGBTI, and another one that I play sometimes, There Is Hope. Brayo Bryans will be with us tomorrow and will perform this song and many others. So please, we would love to see you there. Thank you so much for being here. I'll leave you with that song. Come back tomorrow at the Zoom protest and listen to the sound.
LGBTI, 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 LGBTI. What are we? 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. are the children of the rainbow flag. We are cool, choose a running proud. No one's gonna stop us. We are here to stay. We are the cool choose of the rainbow flag. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. We are moving forward, moving on and on. Never, never going back. We keep fighting, fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop. We keep fighting, fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop. LGBTI, LGBTI, LGBTI.
Bri O'Brien, thanks for this jam.
We are freedom fighters.
Block 13, you murder.
Fighting for the rise of the children of the rainbow flag. What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? We are turning what we're fighting for. Fighting for our rights, fighting for our rights to be LGBTI. Oh, LGBTI. Oh, LGBTI. Oh, going anywhere. Children of the rainbow flag. Yes, the children of the rainbow flag. Yeah, children of the rainbow flag. We are proud to be the children of the rainbow flag. We are the children of.
And I forgot to mention that the document that Gilbert just presented, that Block 13 just presented, I will be posting a PDF of it on my page in the next few minutes, probably half hour. And please feel free to download it, to share it far and wide.
On the rainbow flag, we are cool, choose around and proud. No one's gonna stop us. We are here to stay. We are the children of the rainbow flag. We are moving on and on. Never, never going back. We are moving on and on. Never, never going back. We keep on fighting, 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 fighting. We keep on fighting, fighting on and on. Never, never gonna stop.
And in addition to all the donors that I have thanked that have given to the GoFundMe page, I'd like to give out that special thanks also to the Global Interfaith Network for your donation of $1,000, which actually really helped us with covering the medical bill debt that we had for those that we take to the private hospital for treatment. Thank you so much, Global Interfaith Network. SOJ. What are we? What are you? What are you? What's the meaning of a revolution if we can't dance? I love you all. Adios.